And it so happens yours is the reason
There we go.
why
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session. We are about to start. My name is Niel, and I have just been asked to chair this session. So, surprise, whether that's pleasant or not, please keep that to yourself. We are going to, the session name is Sensory Awakening, and our first presenter is online, Yoshiko. You've got 8 minutes. We will roar or something when time is up.
My name is Yoshiko Ohno. My talk today is Soft Serve in Midwinter, a poetic autoethnography of living after suicide loss. Okay. It was a Saturday in February, 3 months after I had begun staying at Dr. Saburo's house. Just after 10 in the morning, my phone rang. It was Kyoko, Dr. Saburo's wife, who should have been at work. I found a way to get to Matsuyama, she said. Do you want to go even now? About 2 months after my husband's death, Dr. Saburo had come to my house and said, Yoshiko, come to Misho. At that time, every time I had to say my husband has died, I felt as if I might scream. It was not sadness, it was pain, a sharp physical pain that filled my whole body. I thought that before long, I too would die inside it. And yet, because he had come all the way to Nagoya for me, I felt I could not die without first going to Misho. I completed the necessary procedures in a blur, day and night, indistinguishable, and 3 months after his death, I left for Ehime. At Matsuyama Station, Kyoko and Sho were waiting for me. We drove south along the expressway and the winding coastline until we reached Misho. Our bath goes in order, Kyoko said, handing me a towel. You go first. That was how I came to stay. Dr. Saburo had treated many people with alcohol dependence. He believed in the power of self-help groups, places where people who share the same pain can support one another. He found a gathering for me in Matsuyama for people bereaved by suicide. On the day of the morning, I could not get out of the futon. I could not move. I felt that if anything unfamiliar were added to this pain, I would not survive it. And yet, there was something in this house, a quiet insistence that made it impossible to refuse. Misho Bay lay below, calm as always. At the hospital parking lot, we waited. Then Dr. Saburo appeared, his white coat moving in the wind, walking quickly toward us. I sank to shore softly and got into his car. We drove onto the expressway. I wanted to go, I said, but I was afraid and I went back to sleep. I thought so, he said. That's why I decided to take you. Something moved inside me. The gathering was small. As someone used to facilitating groups, I could not fully become just a participant. But as I began to speak about how I lost him, My voice broke. My body trembled. I scolded him, even though he was depressed. I left him alone and went to work. Guilt and regret filled my body, and at the same time I felt abandoned, as if he had chosen death over living with me. What I had kept carefully contained broke through and overflowed. A woman came and sat beside me and silently held me. I had forgotten that a human body is warm. When it was over, I didn't know what to hold inside me anymore. I returned to the car. A whole meal was placed on my lap. Let's go see the sunset, Dr. Saburo said. At the shore, I walked a little behind him. The wind touched my face. The sun slowly descending into the sea was large, burning red. And in its burning, I felt held together. Let's have soft serve, he said. Inside the small building, he ordered 2 soft serves. And he returned to me. Yoshiko, can you treat me? I spent all money on my books. Of course, I said, and I left. We walked eating soft serve. It was cold. I could not taste it. Back in the car, I didn't know how to speak, but when I began, the words came with tears. Since he died, I've been completely alone. I thought no one could understand this. I thought I would never again be able to connect with anyone. But when you said, that's why I decided to take you, I was surprised. I realized I had been living with others too. But just now, watching the sunset, the words, I want to live, appeared. I don't actually want to live. I still want to die, but the word appears. If I go back now, I won't be able to live alone. So please, let me stay here a little longer. It was the first time I had asked for something. He nodded silently. I fell asleep in the passenger seat. When we arrived, Kyoko stepped outside and said, the bus is ready. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yoshiko, thank you very much for sharing that story. Myself, like many others in the room, barely a dry eye inside. So thank you for sharing that story. Next up, Mia Livingston. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. With here, the territory is range. Yeah?
I'm Mia, and I'm a PhD student at Edinburgh University. Right, I'm a PhD student at Edinburgh, and I am going to speak to Here the Territory is Rage. 8 years ago, I wrote an article about fire. The Buddha argued that we can alleviate pain through extinguishing the fire that feeds it. This fire has been interpreted to mean passion, or life force, or anger, or desire. An alternative reading, though, of the original Pali word translated as extinguish is earth bank, the kind that holds fire, not extinguishing desire, but embracing it, far treasured and safely held, contained, sheltered, harnessed, neither stopped nor left to run rampant, scorching the earth. I wrote the article philosophically from a distance, not yet fully aware of what I was carrying, until a year and a half ago, that is, when I started weekly somatic therapy sessions. What follows is the shape that rage took and how it changed. At first, there appeared to be no anger. Rather, there was an inner critic directed inward, wearing the face of self-loathing. Words echoed from my childhood, stupid little girl. A stone in my chest, partly frozen, suppressed through barely breathing. Anger had no shape because I gave it no permission to exist. One day I blurted out to my therapist that I held my breath because I would rather feel tired than sad or angry, and when I breathed, I remembered. Breathing opened the door. A few more months into therapy and the anger appeared as itself for the first time, named and felt in my body, an encompassing ball of fire that I'd always held, spherical, contained and total, carried and unexpressed, a silent scream. I have been violated. People I love have been violated. Some never returned, their lives permanently ended by others' evil whims. As I grieved, my therapist encouraged me to gently stay with the rage. Gently stay with rage. Who knew that was possible? I feared that it would never end, but something else surfaced from within it. I have to admit, I suppose, that love exists, I said to my therapist. That winter, the shape of it changed. Fire moved into my roots, perennial and burning upward, vertical now, and less contained. While the earth bank still held it, it didn't stop it. And pride arrived alongside. Anger was also strength. Rage was also life, and it felt good. In the new year, my rage and I found direction, burning for justice, kept alive by taking back the righteousness that was always mine. Anger directed outward instead of inward, glowing coals that warmed rather than consumed. Then it turned into a sliver, bright and sharp like a new moon made of glass, and still somehow concerned with justice. Softness and the sharp sliver discovered that they were parts of the same sphere, receiving each other, no longer at war, again almost like love, from one body to two, and then drawing in others. Incrementally, I stood up straighter, pushing back and defending increasingly instinctively. The fire of my embodied life filled the room and then my world, from contained and directional to expansive and relational. I used to rage about my abuser, a thorn, a shard in my heart. I was the one to pay the cost of holding and hating with my life. I felt like a fire-breathing dragon and I wanted to burn the whole world down. Why was I still upset about justice, though, when I knew that there was none? My therapist said, "How can you turn this against him, the shard? Take it out and turn it against your abuser." I did. In my mind's eye, I pierced him with it. Instantly, he turned into nothing, a meaningless cinder. There was no love in the room where the abuse occurred. And when I love, I am not in that room. My heart is tender and bruised, but whole. I couldn't do this before because I needed to connect my head, heart, and body first, and I needed loved ones to sit with me. Recently, I revisited the place where I last felt free. I felt again like a part of the earth and the people. I always have, and it turned me to tears to leave, like having to tear off a part of myself. "Wait," I said to my therapist, "we haven't even talked about the joy." He said, "Yes, I heard your joy. We can always return. There is power in our mutual recognition. There is a territory that we have not yet mapped, of wholeness, belonging, and joy." Thank you.
Can I just invite over Peter, going to talk to us about the sacred child and autoethnographical journey of cultural awakening.
Thank you.
And here you go, Sarah. You want to clip it to your collar, perhaps?
Okay then.
I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah, all good?
Okay.
Yeah. And it says it's good, then it's good.
Thank you. My research is finished. My doctorate awarded and my graduation complete. I'm very lucky. I learned a lot in this room. The Scared Child, an autoethnographical journey of cultural awakening. Scared Child, a gift to Christmas. Social workers' questions on Christmas Eve. A 10-year-old's reality, not make-believe. You want to live with your mum or dad? If I get this wrong, will I become more sad? Their voice is calm, their appearance smart. Their clipboard's a weapon to break my heart. I was so small, but tried to see. Was authority dangerous for me? Their processes and papers on display in that room shaped my view of authority. Yes, do. They had power, pencils, and no doubt ability. A decision so important deserves some humility. That was one of the earliest moments I can recall in my life. It took place on Christmas Eve in 1971. My mother had left my father. Shortly after, the social workers arrived at the door, asked questions that no child was prepared to answer. Where do you want to live? With your mother or your father? On the surface, it could be seen as a society caring for the vulnerable. But for me, it was my first encounter with the hierarchy, authority, decision-making, and a system I just did not understand. I was not left with lovely Yuletide memories, but confused feelings hopefully captured in a short poem. This was not fear that made the scared child run behind the curtains and hide, but something quieter, more enduring. A sense that decisions made by others, especially those in authority, could reshape my world without my voice being fully heard. In short, my research asks very simple questions. Why do we hold onto our biases, even when they undermine, control and damage ourselves and others? I initially set out to explore this question through a workplace ethnography. Other people in that workplace had other ideas. 2 years into that ethnography, I was fired. I had no job, no income. And a few weeks later, I was given the diagnosis, Parkinson's disease. I was left with a situation and something much more complicated than the initial question. Yes, I was left with me. My research evolved from that ethnography, with the help of my supervisor, to autoethnography. It was going to be an exploration not just of culture out there, but as a culture lived and internalized and often unquestioned. At the heart of this research, there are two ideas. First, that fear is not just emotional, it's cultural. Secondly, that humility may be the mechanism through which we begin to see, soften and relieve that fear. I drew on the work of Mary Douglas and her group cultural theory to provide a lens to enable myself and others to view that lived culture. Douglas reminds us that people don't simply hold opinions, but they inhabit solidarities. These solidarities shape what we fear, what we trust, and how we relate to others. But theory alone cannot show how these fears take root. For that, I had to look back. As the research continues with a move into adulthood, it evolves, it strengthens, and it drives. Years later in the professional setting, I found myself faced with a decision, a client issue that required collaboration. Instead of engaging my team, I chose to handle it alone. At that time, I framed it as efficiency, decisiveness, and yes, leadership. But through reflection, a different interpretation emerged. Avoidance, not of the client issue, but of the structure around it. The meetings, the shared ownership, the implicit hierarchy. I was not going to lose control, allowing those decisions and others to cause me pain again. I now quietly resisted, and the result was I made a poor decision. This is where autoethnography becomes critical. Without looking inward, these actions remain invisible. We justify our actions with language that sounds rational, corporate bullshit can reign supreme. Behind the mask, underneath the facade, there are often patterns that shape long before that moment of decision. What autoethnography offers is not just a reflection, but an awareness of an opportunity to see how my personal history and cultural structure are directly related. And when we view this through Douglas' theoretical lens, something more important happens. We begin to see what feels personal is also social. We see our fears are not random, they are patterned, enhanced and influenced by the environment we move through. The theory is essential, but the theory and awareness alone are not enough, because recognising bias does not automatically change the behaviour. This is where the third element of my research emerges, humility. Not as a moral idea, but a practical tool. Drawing on the work of Hee-Won Chong, I have framed this as a transformation model, a movement from unexamined experience through reflection and back into the world with different perspectives and positions. Humility in this sense is what allows us to shift our position, to loosen our grip on our old ideas that are driven by fear, and it therefore creates a space for new perspectives. In practice, this has led me to revisit key moments of my life, not alone, but in conversation with others. These retrospective dialogues are not about correcting the past. They are about expanding it, recognising that each of us carries a different version of the same event, shaped by our own fears and our own cultural positioning. And in those conversations, something shifts. Not agreement, but understanding. So what does that mean beyond my own story? My research identifies in our workplaces and institutions, we may be navigating not differences of opinion, but differences of fear. And if those fears remain unexamined, they quietly shape decisions, reinforce silos, limit collaboration, increase the requirement for corporate bullshit, and pave the way for total dysfunction. But if we can begin to see them in ourselves first and then in others, we create the possibility for something different, something refreshing, something really worthwhile. This research does not offer a simple solution, but it does offer a pathway. Autoethnography enables self-discovery. Cultural theory enables the discovery of others. Humility acts as a bridge between the two. If humility is the bridge, then perhaps the transformation is never finished, only continued. Hopefully this short poem describes that transformation. I no longer allow the fear to rule, spoiling the happiness of every all, or steering and stirring my negative voices, as if others bring me no choices. I've learned to pause and reflect, to hear a view rather than reject, to understand and value the voice of others. Not all are enemies, some are brothers. The world may be more bureaucratic, a perfect excuse to remain erratic, but no, the scared child has awoken, and amongst that noise, humility has spoken. So I return to the original question. Why do we hold on to our biases, even when they undermine, control and damage ourselves and others? Perhaps because those biases are not just beliefs, but fear-based defence mechanisms for our own protection. They are shaped by moments we may no longer consciously remember, and we unknowingly carry them into our every situation. And if that is the case, then the challenge is not simply to challenge bias, but to understand the fear beneath it. At that point, we are able to meet the fear in ourselves, others, and in others with humility. And perhaps that's where the understanding begins. Thank you.
Thank you. What a really, really wonderful panel. Really blown away. I'm going to open now for just some reflections or questions, but I did want to start online. There was a question to Yoshiko about the beautiful images she had shared, and just a response from her that AI had helped her create that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that there was a bit of a side conversation online. So can I just open to reflections or questions? Would you like to go just introduce yourself and
Yeah, I'm Sabina Khan, and I call myself an intersectional feminist psychotherapist, and I'm just like so moved by everything that I've heard today, and yeah, the first two speakers, Yoshiko and Mia, just really moved by what you've shared of your journeys and from such a vulnerable place, and something about relationality and the mirror that kind of allows you to kind of connect with parts of yourself that get lost. So that was so beautifully portrayed, so thank you. And then Michelle and Peter. Goodness. Yes, this is something I'm very passionate about. Michelle, very similar journey to me in my grapplings with the work I do, psychotherapy. And yeah, and Peter as well. It's like just again in such a vulnerable, honest way, sharing your journey and how looking at yourself can put you in touch with the ideological and various straight apparata that kind of condition who you are and how you are in the world. And I really loved how you shared that, like Deleuze and Guattari, and the idea that, you know, we are bodies seeking production, and unless we are aware and critical, we will reproduce the imperatives that are thrust upon us by the social and the political. So, you know, I'm a like hardcore feminist from a very young age, and I've always gone with like the personal is political. This is how I've chosen to live my life. But increasingly, as I get older, I have become more aware of how the political is personal and how that kind of really, really shapes how I am, and how psychotherapy can really kind of ignore that whole trauma of self-making. It takes it away from you, really. So thank you so much. I am really, really blown away this session. So I think I'll change.
It's been not at all. We have some time, which is good. What a wonderful reflection. Anyone else online in the room? Reflections, questions, meditations?
Thank you. Throughout this morning, not just this session, but which was beautiful, and I'm really grateful to be here, the word scream keeps coming to me. And it's reminding me of Felitti. I read a paper by Felitti about adverse childhood experiences, and the quote from that is the scream on the other side of silence. So I just wanted to share that with you, because this word keeps coming up, this idea of the scream. So thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to reflect on it.
Thank you. Just our panelists, just having heard the two reflections, is there something maybe you'd like to add as panelists? Yoshiko, Mia, Michelle, Peter?
Okay. Thank you. And I thank you for your reflections. I am very happy to know that you received my message of my autoethnography, and the main message of this autoethnography is how the relationships close to me, so people around me, helped my recovery, not just as clinical settings, but also the small kindness for me, like sharing food or living with me. So yes, so I yeah, I'm very happy to know that the audience received my message. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to go? I'm going to bring the mic over. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Rubina Katoon. It's not fully formed, so just go with me if that's okay. You mentioned something around love and you saying I love you and the councillor saying I love you too forever or something like that. It sounds like you were on a bit of a journey. I just wondered, going back to that, do you have another reflection on love? It's particularly because what I got from what you said was something about if you focus on maybe love as a familial, like, you know, with parents, between parents, can love transform between a therapist? Does it have to be the same? I don't know, but that's what I was thinking.
Fascinating question.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Thank you. Yeah, I think it feels very complex. I think there's something about maybe something about love and different forms of love and the confusion around love and what love means to me. And I mean, I'm just kind of going with what's coming up, but maybe yeah, like when I spoke about maybe how my parents, how my relationship with them has sort of I've kind of embodied, internalized a form of love or meanings, unspoken meanings about love. What is love? What it means, and I'm carrying that into the therapeutic relationship, and I think messages were kind of confused and how my therapist maybe loved me or the ways in which they loved me. Yeah, it feels very messy, very confused, and maybe something in that process was kind of played out between us. Yeah.
Just being in conversation a little bit. There's something about towards the end, you talked about psychotherapy operating in a certain way, and I wonder that if there's a certain type of love that psychotherapy shapes, which actually there might be more expansive love, or you don't have to respond to it. I think Jen had a question. Yeah.
It was actually in response to yours. You've obviously spoken about how messy the different things, and I'm reading Landerlove's thesis at the moment, which is Platonic erotic. She won the award, and it's really interesting because she's looking at like non-sexual eros, and she references the Greek ideas of love. So there's like agape, eros. I think there's 5 or 6 altogether, and I just wondered if you thought about different cultural references that you might use as a framework to tidy up or demessify the things that you're thinking through.
Okay. All the questions. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's like all different strands in my inquiry currently, and maybe love actually has been a little bit less of a focus, strangely. So it's kind of, yeah, it's given me food for thought, and yeah, I mean, something that came to mind when you were speaking was something I remember reading about, a quote about love is nature's form of psychotherapy. So like there is something about like love is healing. Love is transformative. It's crucial. It's so so yeah. There's something about it is necessary, and you could say like you know you need to have it in a therapeutic relationship, and it's sort of yeah the form that it takes, and yeah, it's given me a lot to think about. So.
Wonderful reflections. I just want to bring my voice and a reflection into the room. I don't know if I can get it out, but Yoshiko, just thank you very much. I know autoethnography is about our processes, and some of the impact it has is because we leave a gap intentionally. That gap is for the reader or receiver of an autoethnography to put their stuff in and to make the sense from that. And I have a family member who had attempted suicide at a really tricky time in the family, really close family member. And he had survived that. And I didn't realize until now, I'm actually mourning his death that could have been. And yeah, so just I might ask for help in processing that. So. Oof.
So I just want to make a comment to the room. July last year, I went to a summer school and encountered some really appalling attitudes to people who experience mental illness and who have like attempted or have actually ended their own lives. I've been one of those people, and the distress that it caused me and how it was handled by my institution actually led as a primary cause for them me being sectioned for 3 months at the end of last year. And I just wanted to thank everybody in this room, because actually we've had a very similar discussion today, and it absolutely demonstrates that you can do it with compassion and tact and sensitivity. So thank you, I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I was kicked out of a university on my second draft of a final PhD thesis, where I explored questions of my own kind of thinking about suicide. So echoing that, if just writing about thinking about suicide gets me kicked off a program, having to start afresh, it's just your bravery in bringing that into the room is just really like, thank you, and the gentleness in here. Akil, I see your hand up online.
Yes, I'm here. My name is Akil. I'm from Japan, and yeah, I'm just like my heart, my soul has touched your story. Everyone in this session it's just touching my heart, and I was just like, fascinated by the name of this session, where, the name is Sensory Awakening, and I really feel something awakening inside me, and my mind is going there, here and there, and I don't know what is going on inside me, but like, it's just amazing. And I just want to thank everyone in this room, and at the same time, I would like to ask a question to each of you about, like, perhaps maybe Yoshiko first. Like, um you had this moment of confusion, and in this midst of confusion of like not knowing what you should do, or what was wrong and what was good, or what is really good for me right now, and everything has stopped. The time has stopped inside you, and like, where was the moment when was the moment when you felt that it's okay for me to live. It's okay for me. I can live. And like, from yesterday's presentation, what other presenters said about a sense of being, it's okay to exist, sense of being okay to exist. Well, when did you feel that moment in your story? And like, you mentioned about, the doctor that having that warm heart. At the same time, you also mentioned about the warm bath, the warm food, the warm others hugging you, and the cold soft cream and the ice cream you had, like, having these cold and hot things also. Like how did those things affect you is also another question I would like to ask you, if you may answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Yeah, said years ago, and this story is about 8 years ago, and yeah, it took me many years to feel I'm okay. I can live, but I think this is this story, and so when I saw the sunset with Dr. Saburo, is the first moment. How can I say? I don't know how can I say, but in Japanese, I want to live is ikitai. When I saw the sunset with Dr. Saburo, the letter ikitai, 4 letters in Japanese, ikitai, appeared to me. I don't know why, but appeared, just appeared, the letters. And after this moment, I realized that I didn't live only with my husband. I had lived other people's too. So I thought I was totally alone after my husband's death, but I realized that I am not alone. So I don't know why, but when I saw the sunset, big, the sunset was very big, like basketball, and I realized, I don't know, but someone lives with me.
Beautiful, beautiful reflections.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just, Yang, we have you online, and you had dropped a message. Do you want to talk to that, or would you like me to read it?
It's okay. I just want to add my response to Yoshiko. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. It's just you mentioned the nuance in your writing about there's a friend visiting far away, and you feel like I want to die, but I cannot die, not until you first, treated him. And I think that detail reveals speak a lot about the culture stuff and how we interaction with our neighborhoods and community and how we lived and how we can live and die and cannot die because of others and that kind of relational power. I just want to say that's really touching. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or reflections in the room online? Okay.
Yeah, Mia. I talked about rage, but about love. Couple of things. It's just been, I realized that it feels reflected in this room, in this moment, just having an audience to listen to us is such a reflection of what Yoshiko was saying about having other people there. And it makes me want to live. It's just truth to power to have listeners like that. And I didn't realize until I did it again how much of a part of this everybody who's listening is. Impossible without you, obviously. And then the other thing that was interesting, I thought, was a clinical term of unconditional positive regard, which is, to me, the version of love as an ex-therapist in the therapy room. that unconditional positive regard that some of us are taught to show, and maybe supervisors sometimes as well, especially if they have a therapy training. It's so easy as a client to feel love because unconditional positive regard, UPR, it feels like love, and it is a form of love. And then it's so interesting, how do you keep that professional versus it doesn't feel professional to the client? So yeah, it's just a couple of thoughts.
Thank you. Wonderful reflections. You want to?
So that, just to say, that's come through in my work as well, which covers similar topics to what you were referring to, and the people that I spoke with really felt the need to matter, and that's what that's giving them.
Thank you.
Amanda?
We have someone online. Amanda, you want to?
Yes, just a brief, what I keep coming back to, and it was Yoshiko again from yours, but I think of it just in what was presented in this room today, of those words of I want to live, but then the bravery of saying, can I stay? Can I stay with you? Of asking for that, to realize I want to live and I can't do this alone. And in your story, and then also to just generally, as I've listened to these incredible stories, these vulnerable stories today, and the different expressions, just that bravery of asking, like, can I stay? Will you be here with me? And just thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Really love that. And I would love to bridge the gap between love and rage, because I wanted to join the session specifically to listen to the story about rage until I was voluntold to kind of chair the session. So here I am. I went through a life process, specifically in my 20s, early 30s, where I was a walking ball of rage. And when I swiveled to love, like the love was so overwhelming at stages that rage was the easier thing to carry. And it's only recently that I realized I needed to be able to carry rage and live with it in order to really love fully. And that realization had really settled me to go, like, I can be really angry, and that's okay, because I can really love. I just wondered if you had a reflection on that. Yeah.
The way I described it makes so much sense what you're saying, can completely relate. I think the softness, what happened in therapy was when I explored rage, most of the many sessions, the therapist would say, what does it look like? What does it feel like? All those really annoying questions. But we had a good relationship and it was trust, so it was all right. And so when I kept looking at rage, there was always something additional that came to it when I stayed with it, that gentle staying. And it always ended up being something like softness in the edges that sort of introduced themselves, certainly nothing putting on top of it. And certainly impossible to force or want something like love to come in and take rage's place. It was just, if I kept looking at it and didn't run from it, it was like walking into a cloud. And it looks so different from inside the cloud, as you could tell from my talk. There's so much more to rage, and it's actually, I like my rage. I like Frankenstein's monster. We're friends.
Definitely.
I just think, yeah, sometimes rage is an act of love, yeah, and love is messy, and yeah, and through that rage you allow yourself to connect with yourself, and yeah, I'm just thinking, like, the theme is, what's the theme of this conference? Connections. Yeah, but no, of the whole thing, it's like, yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. Love is about connection, seeking connection with others and yourself, really, in a more authentic way.
Right. Thank you. So we have minute and a half left that we could either fill with a reflection, or we can just end there. Don't want to. Yeah. Brilliant.
Thank you. You saying about rage, and it just across my mind as you said that, I was thinking about, sometimes, especially with my mum, the only way I could connect and actually was through rage, was through anger, and that in a way was love, and it was times where I felt actually most connected to her.
Okay, and thank you everybody. We're going to end it there. We're going to go into a 20 minutes break. I think
20 minutes, yep.
There we go, 20 minutes. So just a round of applause, our lovely panel. And